A massive exodus from UCLA secondary. 3 expected transfers and a decommit from the class of 2026. Bob Chesney is going to have his work cut out for him to replenish some of the starting secondary.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free, whether it's your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. Welcome back, everydayers, to the number one sports podcast network out there. Yes, Locked On UCLA, part of the larger Locked On Sports Podcast Network. Thanks for tuning in. What we're talking about is the transfer portal. The portal does not officially open until January 2nd. Opens and is closing January 16th in 2026. So you're like, what is there to be worried about for transfers? Well, it doesn't stop players from saying that they're expecting to transfer, willing to go out public with that. The first guy from UCLA's team was none other than Scooter Jackson. And you're like, okay, Scooter Jackson tied for the team lead or had the team lead in interceptions, was one of the first guys December 1st to announce and already reposted on his own social media account that he's open for business from On3's transfer portal tracker. All right, so that's one guy from the secondary that Coach Martin brought in the transfer portal to help boost this UCLA secondary, right? A overhaul from the previous year's secondary. Well, that was one guy who is in the portal. Then next UCLA, all this in the last hour from Hayes Fawcett of On3 posting and retweeting that in the last hour or so, the Bruins have lost Andre Jordan Jr., who is one of the latest guys to head to the portal. He had 7 starts. You had a team leader and 2 interceptions with Scooter Jackson. You had Andre Jordan Jr., a 6'1 corner who had 57 tackles, 15 passes defended, and he started 7 games this year. He's going to transfer and has a year of eligibility. All right. You're like, okay, is that it? No. That's only half of what's leaving for UCLA. Then the headliner, I would say, is Cole Martin, who's one of the prize recruits to transfer to UCLA from Arizona State. You had Martin, who was a starter in all 12 games, has 2 years of eligibility, 65 tackles, 3 pass breakups, a pick this year. And most importantly, even though with a lot of eligibility left, his dad is the secondary coach. Now, obviously, yes, you bring in a new coach, one who's defensive-minded. You're going to overhaul what that coaching room could look like. But you're like, okay, well, Coach Meat has the known quantity of being a solid recruiter to bring in talent. And if his own kid is leaving, I'm not sure if Bob Chesney has gone out there and really made things public as to a UCLA coaching staff. He hasn't really hinted that he's officially taken the UCLA job, but that's not the issue. We're not worrying about that at the moment. He's coaching James Madison. That's his focus. And even though the portal is open in January, players are making themselves known, hey, you can find a way to get in contact with me if you can. And with Cole Martin hitting the portal, according to On3, a couple of starters. So you had one with 2 interceptions, 2 players who combined for 19 starts in the secondary. And yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but then Teray Davis, who I talked about on an earlier podcast, a 3 to 4 star player in the secondary, is hitting the portal for UCLA. And not hitting the portal. He is decommitting and flipping to Texas. All reported by On3 and Rivals that the 6'2 safety from Boulder, Colorado, who is committed to UCLA for almost 6 months, from June to now December, about 5 to 6 months, he is flipped from UCLA to Texas. Now, the last Locked On UCLA episode, I talked about there's some guys who might flip, some guys that are getting poked at. You got Carter Gooden at the moment, who I haven't really checked in on just yet. I had Teray Davis, who was getting looked at by Wisconsin. Texas put in a late push to get him to flip, and Texas was able to woo him as a 4-star safety, sometimes as a 3-star athlete, to flip his commitment to Texas. All right. So for a defensive-minded head coach coming into UCLA, I wonder if there's going to be a complete overhaul of the coaching that's left at UCLA, or if they'll keep a Kevin Coyle, if there'll be anything left at UCLA, the good parts, any remnants of the previous regime, or if Bob Chesney's just going to wipe it clean. That's the expectation. But if you have some guys who are known recruiters who have already had some guys willing to commit to UCLA, like a Coach Meat, who is the secondary coach, and his son, who is a starter, is transferring out, it means that we might see a wave of decommitments and flips from UCLA, who had a complete overhaul in the secondary. So at the moment, UCLA is losing a lot of talent, and that's what's going to happen while we wait for Chesney to come to UCLA. And maybe that's just the only one, right? Coach Meat, maybe he's looking for something else. Don't really know the status of his coaching spot. Will he be asked to return to UCLA? Cole Martin, who grew up around his own dad coaching at UCLA when he was a youngster back in the, about a decade ago. And then here we are, UCLA losing some experience. So that means, as one would expect with Chesney, he is going to have to hit the portal hard. Early signing day and early announcement day to flip, apparently, is coming out. So you're going to see maybe a couple more guys hit that portal. But Chesney, the more he wins, the more of a higher profile he gets. Whether he wins the Sun Belt, gets to the CFP, and continues to win, there is a lot of work cut out for him to, all right, you're losing a couple of starters. A guy who maybe could have contributed right away. I'm not sure about Torrey Davis. But now that you're seeing a lot of guys leave, maybe he could have fought for a starting spot. Now let's remember we had CJ Lavender just flip. He's a guy from the Trinity League. So maybe there's some competition for UCLA players who are like, well, I see these latest flips. How about I go elsewhere? Whether it's a Trey Davis coming in this class of 26 now going to Texas, or some of these guys who are playing this year, and UCLA's like, we need to get much better. And not just saying it's these guys specifically. The Bruins obviously have to hit big time in the transfer portal on an O-line, hit big time on a defensive line, while maintaining their commitments. Some of their biggest recruits, Micah Champ-Smith, you have Anthony Jones, and then you have Carter Gooden, 3 top-tier guys in this year's committed class at the moment who may flip, 2 of which may flip, one had just recommitted to UCLA in November. So those are a lot of things that this recruiting staff has to hold together through these next couple of days, while Chesney, his complete focus is on the James Madison Dukes. I mean, UCLA hasn't even officially announced anything just yet for Chesney to come to UCLA. Now, with Penn State out there looking for a head coach, maybe there's a chance they throw a Godfather offer out there and something changes. Unlikely. Chesney seems like a guy, I made my decision, I'm going to UCLA. The fit is perfect. The program builder and the program that needs to be rebuilt, reconstructed, burnt to the ground, and just boom, brought back up. All right, just figure it back out and be like, hey, UCLA internally is already having so many issues. It's like, all right, let's figure it out from an external spot with somebody outside, the West Coast, outside the region, bring it back and build it back up piece by piece. All right, so these are the first guys, as of this recording, that have announced their expectation to transfer. Now, the beauty of a later transfer portal, right, with it starting in January 2nd, to kind of end this on a good note, that means Chesney should have a chance to figure out if he wants a Coach Meat to stay, and that would mean probably a lot of these guys could stay, or he'd weed out the guys he doesn't think are good enough to stay. I would think you would want a Cole Martin to stay and start even more games, but we'll figure it out. And then he can go have those conversations. He can look at tape and still have enough time by that end of December, a couple of weeks around Christmas and New Year's, to really study on the guys he wants to stay. Now, these guys are going to find ways to have communications with agents and portals and be committing on the first day that the portal is open. There will be guys, I'm not saying it's these 3 who are in the portal, Scooter Jackson, Andre Jordan Jr., and Cole Martin, who are going to immediately commit right away, but there will be guys around the country who've already found their 2026 destination, whether they're playing in the playoff, whether they're competing in a conference championship game, or their season just ended and the portal doesn't open for a day till January 2nd and they've already found their new home. There are those shady misgivings and backroom deals that are happening as we speak all around the country. Now, what is UCLA going to do about it? Technically, with the portal window moving, Chesney has time to come through, figure it out what he wants, hopefully put together a good coaching staff that says, hey, this is what we want to keep, and this is what we don't want to keep. So expect another couple of guys to hit the portal, And obviously, the big names are, will Nico even tempt to step back in the portal? Would it be highly coveted? Will there be other receiving talent that might bolt elsewhere? UCLA needs to intake a lot of beefy guys on the O-line and D-line, but can't just lose everything at the skill positions as well. So we'll see what happens at that. Those are the breaking news from On3. Hayes Fawcett posting some of those in the last hour, a couple hours since recording this podcast. And there still might be more guys by the time we next record. So we'll talk about all that and more with a recruiting class that's dipped a little bit, but the Bruins still have a foundation to give Chesney. It's not empty. It's the cupboard's not bare. There's still something to hand over to Chesney that he can work with and just hit the portal hard. Hit the portal hard, focusing on the O-line and the D-line, and the Bruins can figure out everything else. But start up front with the big boys and then work your way back. The holidays always feel a little easier when you know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week, it's the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here. The deals are huge. You can save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks because their variety, underrated steaks, burgers, comfort meals, sides, desserts. It's one of those gifts that truly fits everyone. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. For an additional $35 off, use the promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply. See site for details. It's going to do it for us here on Locked On UCLA. It's our first edition of the Portal Chatter. UCLA might be losing a couple of guys, whether they're big name or maybe they're guys that were on the bench the whole year. We'll figure it out as those announcements continue to roll in. But until next time, the sky is not falling. Don't hit me with that. Some shocking transfers, but it's always expected after the college football season. The good, the bad, and everything indifferent. The most important thing, UCLA's got the right guy in Bob Chesney, and we'll know how good UCLA can be by the time Chesney can come over the Bruins, dissect what needs to be changed from a culture perspective, from a facilities, NIL support, fan base support, donor support, all the way down to the X's and O's and the players and the coaching staff. I think we'll be just fine, even if all these guys leave. And they're technically not even gone yet. Let's be honest. Not even gone yet officially. All expected to enter the transfer portal, which doesn't even open until like a month from now. All right? Those are the big things. But until then, clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.